In today's video, the pros and cons of stacked townhomes. Are they a good investment for both end users and professional investors? And my overall opinions on them. Let's get to it. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. You can find my contact information in the description box with regards to my Gmail, my Instagram, and of course my office information if you have any further inquiries about anything discussed in this video or anything discussed in previous videos, or if you have any general questions whatsoever, feel free to direct your questions to my Gmail, and of course, once again, my office information in the description box. Lastly, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Your support in that regard is greatly appreciated, but you're not obliged to do so whatsoever. As a last point of order, I'm going to be taking a break on the second half of December, so look forward to a couple more videos coming up, and then I'll see you guys in the New Year's. But enough of that, let's get to the point of today's video, which is stacked townhomes. What do I think of stacked townhomes? So before I go through the pros and cons of stacked townhomes and my personal professional opinion on stacked townhomes, let me give you a quick rundown on what they are. Stacked townhomes are pretty much as they sound. They're typically condominium townhomes, meaning you're part of a condominium corporation that also has maintenance as well, that are stacked in nature. They're not the only type of condominium townhomes. There are a lot of condominium townhomes that are 3-story, 2-story. However, stacked townhomes, which usually, once again, are condominium townhomes, are stacked on top of each other. So in certain arrangements, what this means is that the lower condominium unit, technically speaking, as part of the stacked townhome, might be a descending staircase going down. And if you look at some of the cheaper stacked condominium townhomes available on the market that have sold, they are typically of the lower floor variety, wherein the windows for natural sun in certain circumstances are higher on the wall, because once again, you're kind of below ground level or at ground level. Of course, there's also the second unit, which is stacked on top of the lower unit, and given the fact that it's a townhome, unless it's an end unit, you have neighbors to the right and neighbors to the left as well. And lastly, let me just show you, and this will help us transition into the pros and cons as I see it through my real estate experience working with buyers, sellers of both end user variety and investor variety. And what will help us transition to that is the numbers. Briefly run through the numbers. A year to date, right? And year to date, we mean pretty much from January of 2021 to end of November of 2021. So not really accounting for December sales, because this is being recorded December 4th. Year to date, there has been about 11,550 condominium townhomes that have sold in all Treb areas, anything from King to Midtown to Durham to Mississauga. And of this 11,550, 2,090 of them have been of the stacked townhome variety. So this should give you an idea what share and what portion of the condominium townhome inventory that's available stacked townhomes typically make up. The most, once again, popular style of condominium townhomes are of the 3-story and 2-story variety. Now, looking only purely in the city of Toronto, once again, year to date, January 1st to November 30th of 2021, the average sold price for a stacked townhome has been $700,000, more specifically $700,584. Just to show you the disparity between stacked townhomes and other condominium townhome types, let's take a look at the average sold price. All other condominium townhomes, excluding of course stacked townhomes, which in that instance, the sold price of all other condominium townhomes, excluding stacked townhomes, is around $857,000. So by and far, this should show you this disparity. And of course, these are not perfect sciences, right? Sometimes you have a few sales that throw off the data, but this is based upon upon hundreds and hundreds of transactions. It's a pretty fair representation of the fact we're dealing with ample sample size, and they should show you the disparity between demand and value of stacked townhomes, which are the cheaper and less expensive of the townhome types and other townhome types, such as, once again, 3-story and 2-story. And the reason I said this would help us transition to the pros and cons is because off the bat, we see one of the pros is that stacked townhomes are cheaper. They're of the cheaper options. So if you're a first-time home buyer or maybe a novice buyer, whether you're an end user or an investor, if you're looking for cheaper options, overall, we can say as one of our pros, it's the case that stacked townhomes are the cheaper, more economic option. Now, moving on to con number 1. In terms of a con, I would probably have to say noise transfer. This is especially the case if there's a shared access. Once again, sometimes stacked townhomes have shared access wherein the main doorway is the same, but there's a ascending staircase and a descending staircase. And that's how the units are divided. So not only do you have the noise in terms of the shared access, but noise can travel easily. This is a con overall with townhomes of any variety, even freehold townhomes that, you know, are selling somewhere around 1.2 million in certain regions of York region and Toronto, let alone condominium townhomes that are stacked where you have someone to your right, someone to your left, and someone above and someone down. So I would probably have to say con number 1 is the fact that noise travels pretty easily. Let's move on to pro number 2. Stacked townhomes, believe it or not, have decent rental yield in terms of cash flow. Now, are they a top 2 or top 3 option? No, by all means, no. But if you have 20 to 30% down for investment property, and for some odd reason, you don't want to go for the better options and you're very much so cash flow minded, so you're not really focusing on the appreciation side of things, you're more so focusing on the month to month cash flow, which once again I always make a point of emphasizing are 2 separate issues. You can have something that you're negative on cash flow wise but is appreciating at such a rapid pace that the month-to-month value appreciation completely blows your cash flow negative loss on a monthly basis out the water. So for whatever reason, if you're not even really focused on value appreciation and purely cash flow reasons, stacked townhomes actually have, on average, pretty decent, and that's the key word, decent, not amazing, but at the same time, better than average rental yield. Let's move on to con number 2, which is maintenance fee. Of course, as I said, stacked townhomes are typically condominium townhomes, so you're part of the condominium corporation. Thus, as a result, you would have to pay a maintenance fee. A lot of first-time home buyers who are not too fond of condominiums go towards stacked townhomes, assuming they are freehold in nature, and sometimes they are shocked to eventually learn, no, that they're not only not freehold, but they have condominium fees because they're a condominium townhome. Now from this, we can actually transition to our pro number 3, which is, yes, maintenance is definitely a negative, but stacked townhomes typically have far cheaper maintenance. That's to say, if you take a 1,400 square foot stacked townhome versus a 1,400 square foot condominium unit, the maintenance of the townhome will be far less per square foot than the condominium unit, and overall, obviously. The main reason for this being is that stacked townhomes don't really have a lot of shared amenities. Maybe some townhomes, some townhome complexes do have a pool for the summer months. Rarely, in some occasions, do stacked townhome complexes have like a shared gym. But typically speaking, it's only a little parquet, not even the full park, a parquet. And that's why the maintenance fees are quite low in nature, is because there aren't a ton of amenities. And furthermore, condominium townhomes, especially stacked townhomes, don't have a lot of utilities included in the maintenance fee. So for that reason, once again, you're dealing with lower maintenance, which can be an attractive attribute of stacked townhomes, especially those who are choosing between stacked townhomes and condominium units and condominium apartments. But that's where the pros, in my frank opinion, kind of end. Let's move on to the cons, which we're moving on to, I believe, con number 3, lack of privacy. Once again, this lack of privacy issue arises out of the fact that your walls are shared and your ceiling is potentially shared and your floor is potentially shared. Not for all stacked townhomes, but for a good share of stacked townhomes that are available on the market. If you're especially an end user that is very much so keen on privacy, stacked townhomes are unfortunately not an option for you, and in fact a inferior option even over condominium units and in high-rise to mid-rise buildings. A lot of people assume in terms of privacy that's the worst you can do, which is actually far from the truth. There's a lot of condominium units that I've sold, that I've bought, that I've showed that are very well insulated and have a ton of privacy. Stacked townhomes are actually where you do the worst in terms of privacy as a criteria. Moving on to con number 4, uncovered parking access. Stacked townhomes typically do not have underground parking whatsoever. Now, of course, off the bat, we can see why this would be an issue. Off the bat, we can see why this is an issue because you don't have a garage to speak of. You don't have underground parking. Thus, in the winter months, especially in Toronto, Ontario, anywhere in Canada, really. In the winter months, that can be quite a problem, right? You don't have underground parking to park your car. It has to be overground parking. Furthermore, underground parking makes the access to the unit, when we talk about condominiums, for instance, makes the access to the unit much more convenient in terms of if you're out shopping, you have a lot of shopping bags, groceries. Overground parking, uncovered parking for condominium townhomes of the stacked variety make it far less inconvenient in terms of traversing from your car to the unit. Moving on to the next con, lack of sunlight. Now, this especially applies to stacked townhomes of the older variety that are the bottom units or the flat, they would say, not the one that's stacked on top. There's a lot of stacked townhome sales where you go through the pictures that I have shown to buyers as well, that when you see where the windows are located, it's almost as if you're in the basement of a detached or semi-detached property. The windows are quite high on the ceiling. And as I said, because that's sometimes the lower unit in a stacked townhome is at ground level or below ground level. Not all the time. Of course, some of the newer variety, you see they do a pretty good job with this issue that can arise. Another con that is quite ubiquitous with stacked townhomes is small living and dining. Most stacked townhomes are, around the 1,000 to 1,600 square foot range, right? Whereas on average, townhomes are, whether once again 3-story variety or a 2-story, whether it's freehold or condominium, are considerably larger in terms of square footage. Thus, as a result, with condominium townhomes of the stacked variety, you're dealing with smaller living and dining spaces. Now, of course, these living and dining spaces will be bigger than smaller condominium units, but in certain cases, a condominium unit of the same size, so comparing a 1,400 square foot stacked townhome versus a 1,400 square foot condominium unit, that condominium unit will actually have a bigger living or dining, if not both. And from my experience, once again, working with buyers and sellers, showing stacked townhomes to buyers, stacked townhomes do struggle from lack of size in terms of living and dining, despite the fact that they're advertised as townhomes. Let me give you my final thoughts here. I believe, and once again, this is in general, right? I would have to go with individual buyers to their criteria, but generally speaking, stacked townhomes for end users are better avoided, especially if some of the top items on your criteria are privacy, size, and ample appreciation in terms of resale value. In terms of these 3 points in someone's criteria, you can do far, far, far better. And stacked townhomes rank on the lower end options, once again, going purely based upon those 3 items in a given buyer's criteria. And anyways, let me know if you have any further questions. Do you own a stacked townhome? Have you lived one? Have you rented in one? What do you think about stacked townhomes? I'm actually curious what a lot of viewers of this channel, their experiences are with stacked townhomes. Anyways, that's Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any further questions. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.